I was interested in the fact that it connected women because they were based rurally and regionally. Seemed to be intending to embrace a broad spectrum of women. I just remained interested enough to keep reading media releases and spoke to a couple of people who also knew something about the organisation. I do remember that I became aware of Jan Darlington. So that must have been, quite early in the piece, 1993, 94. And I was aware that there was a fair bit of media coverage about this interesting new organisation. I think at the time it was called QRW, Queensland Rural Women. And it seemed to me that it was a very different organisation. I think to me one of the really exciting things was this connection with women who lived rurally or regionally. I'd never considered myself a rural woman in the sense that I was a landholder or that I worked the land. My husband is a professional person and I worked as a practice manager for many years, but very much connected to, a rural community and very aware of rural concerns and interests. And it just pleased me enormously that initially through the email forum, I could connect with a much wider range of people who had similar interests and were coming from backgrounds that were not necessarily as landowners or graziers or growers, but people who were invested in rural industries in lots of other ways.
Yes, well, I joined the organisation approximately in 1995. And I was prompted to join because of information given by friends who had already done so, and also my interest in rural affairs. And I was a health professional, a registered nurse in the rural community in Kingaroy. So that was the catalyst for my joining.
I certainly have got some good friendships and connections through QREN, and I know that if I wanted to build more, that the model is there for it. So there's definitely the opportunity to pursue that, but I'm kind of working nationally, so I interact with a lot of different groups in different ways. QREN is there for when I need to do Queensland, so it's a great thing. I guess it is support in a way, and a sounding board with people who are informed and aware, but not elitist, observing as I did over time. It seemed to be about, QREN was about self-improvement of members, connectedness and community between people sort of working in rural, regional, anywhere outside the city, but even connecting with the city as well, and about having influence around things that mattered. And just really enjoyed the networking and the affirming nature of the organisation. It seems to me like an organisation which loves building and supporting whatever you want to move forward on.
To come out from the farms and meet people. I think there was a drought on, as usual, and country people needed support.
And one of the things I really liked was the opportunity to meet women from other walks of life, not just the dairy industry. In other words, other rural industries, and even further afield through our government departments that were areas that women needed to access and to learn. It's developed as being a great connection for women and friendships, but the push was for women to learn skills and to feel comfortable in taking a more active role in their businesses. It has changed over time. The early days, of course, we didn't have the internet. There was some early programs around that I wasn't a part of. So then I thought, well, there's these people telling me I need to learn how to use a computer. So that's where my journey started, and I don't think I could have done a lot of that without QREN. I did have help with the dairy industry, but I also had help and support and encouragement from members of QREN. Mental health, I did get involved in some dairy industry programs, and I don't think I'd have done that without the encouragement from the QREN people that I had met. I don't think I'd have had the confidence to do it without that support from QREN.
I think a lot of this was achieved in the early years. If we just look at some examples of that. If we look at presence, well, for example, Georgie Summers had one of the very, very first committee Georgie was a member of. She was invited to stand on the Queensland Women's Consultative Council, which gave her a voice in women's affairs there.
I think that when we first got the funding for Bridget, the idea was for communication throughout the organisation in a much easier way. And I think Barb Anderson's dream of it connecting all of the members was just magical, and it should have happened. I'm not sure that it does.
We've learnt to speak up and of the value of speaking up together. We've learnt to share our stories. We have learnt to celebrate the successes of our members, and we have created opportunities for our members to be celebrated.